listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There's no human being on the planet I'd rather be talking to right now than Garrett Crochet. Fact.
I know you start all your stuff off this way. I'm a friend of the pod.
Yeah. Well, but I mean it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not lying. Yes, I do say it to everybody, right?
At this moment, though.
No, but I mean it because it's like this is like when I did it with Joe. I said I'm contractually obligated to say it.
That's fair.
But I do mean it, and I referenced our conversation a few different times last year at Fenway when you were the White Sox, and I knew right then and there, not only because you wore their baseball isn't boring shirt out to BP. I mean, that was next level commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, you were running around with it BP.
I'd been waiting to get one. I saw Joe wearing the shirts around, so I was kind of just biding my time.
Well, I gave him a box, and he should have handed it out to those White Sox. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But hey, it's really obviously I was happy to see that you were traded to the Red Sox because I knew that you were a good person. I knew that you were a good person to talk to, and also because you were going to make things a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
So here's a cliche question to begin. How is it, you've never done this before other than going from college to professional organization. Has it been what you expected, switching organizations?
I tried to come into it with no expectations, to be honest. The biggest thing is really just, what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of meshing with the guys in the clubhouse, just kind of blending into that. And it was pretty seamless. There's a lot of good guys over here. It seems to be a pretty solid culture already established just in terms of work ethic and camaraderie. So for me, it was as simple as coming in.
You don't know until you do it, right?
Right,
yeah.
100%. Like you said, it's been since, from high school to college, from college to the big leagues that I really had to go through that. But now, just where I've been the past couple of years, I feel like I'm a lot more sure of myself. So maybe that took some of the stress off my shoulders and just kind of helped me be myself from day one.
Did you ever have to move? I've always was petrified of moving as a kid.
Yeah. I think I changed elementary schools one time.
Yeah.
But
how old were you then?
3rd grade. So it wasn't.
But still.
It wasn't to the point though where you're not in your teen years where you're maybe a little bit insecure. It was like, I always wanted to move schools and see what that was like. And then once I did it, I realized grass isn't always greener on that side of things, especially when it comes to school.
So questions that you didn't thought you'd be asked when you woke up this morning, which was more difficult, switching schools in 3rd grade or being integrated into a new team, Major League Baseball team?
Push, straight tie, yeah.
All right, fair enough. So you get here, and we talked about this, I think, in the first few days here, about you look back a year ago,
right.
And it was, hey, Chris, I'm going to be good.
Yeah.
Just trust me, I'm going to be good. And think about how, again, a cliche question, I apologize, but how different a year ago it was.
100%.
Yeah.
I think about it all the time, and it's not really all the time. I guess I've kind of phased out of that now because this is who I always thought that I would be and who I'm still becoming, and I'm still focused on today and then eventually tomorrow as soon as my day's done here at the field. So it's really cool to look back on that, but the time for that was in the off season to see all the ground that I was able to make up in the season I put together now, and kind of come to the realization that a good season, I said this all the time last year, one good start doesn't make me a good pitcher, one good season doesn't make me a good pitcher, because I'm ultimately trying to have a good career, and now I'm just focused on being really good for the Boston Red Sox.
I think I don't know if we had talked about this when I sat down with you last year, but
yeah.
I remember the first time I ever talked to you was at the All-Star game, and sometimes just going to the All-Star game. So you go through your whole first half, right? And you're like, I'm doing well, this is working out. But then you go to the All-Star game, and like you said, now you're in a different world.
Right.
And I don't know if that was for you okay, all right, this is working out like I had hoped.
Right. It's validation for sure, but you kind of just try to not get wrapped up in it. It's really cool, and I'm not even trying to downplay it because I really enjoyed myself, and I really took a lot of pride in getting to go, and I thought it was awesome. If you told me last spring training that that's where I was going to be, I wouldn't have been shocked because I had a lot of belief in myself and the work I put in the off season, but it just meant that everything went according to plan, and that, you know, betting on myself was the right decision.
What was the most memorable thing other than, I forget, what did you wear? You had a suit. What was your suit?
State and Liberty.
State and Liberty suit?
Just all black, yeah. In the Texas heat.
Like,
it was tough.
I didn't realize. I saw Pete Alonso had like an
Yeah.
all black cowboy hat. It was basically like he lost a bet. But
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Dude, I didn't realize what I was getting into. Walking the red carpet too, because I don't have any hair, so sweat was just pouring down my face the whole time.
Did you? So that reminds me, the Jake Berger hat. Remember that?
Yeah, the mesh hat.
I mean, how can you put on go out in sun in spring training without thinking about the mesh hat?
I never had that issue with the mesh hat.
Really?
I don't know what went on with Berger.
It was nuts.
I don't know what went on there, because I was bald at the same time, and it never
really?
happened to
It
me.
didn't happen to you?
Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway, I appreciate Jake. He's a great guy. And so anyway, you do well. You're traded. You're here.
Right.
It's nonsense. I do what. So you come here. This is another thing, and I've tried to have been I've really enjoyed our conversations about your dad barbecue and everything.
Yeah.
But the one big thing is especially when you come to a market, you walk in there and you're being pushed and pulled in a lot of different directions.
Right.
All eyes are on you. It's a lot. I mean, we can say it's spring training, but it's a lot.
Right.
That part of it, you've been really, really good about it, and I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. But has that part of it? Is that something you could prepare for? Because you don't know until you do it, right?
I don't think you could prepare for it, especially as Chicago's supposed to be a big market, but it was not at all like it to this scale. But just kind of going through it, it's like you could look at it two ways. It's like a lot of pressure on you because a lot of eyes are on you, but then it's also the other side of the coin is that I worked my ass off all last season, the off season prior, leading up to it this off season, to be able to earn the right to have people expect something out of me and be able to rely on me. So it's like the pressure that I'm feeling right now is what I worked for. It's what I wanted. It's what I feel like I deserve because I've earned it.
That's well done.
Yeah.
That was a good way to put it.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's like I think I talked to Cassis and he had the line. I said I'm going to steal it and put it on a T-shirt, which was I've earned the right to fail.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Same thought.
Yeah, but it's true. And so when you come here, this is another. I've said this is a cliche question.
That's okay. That's okay.
But because
I'm trying not to drop cliches. myself.
No. But
yeah.
I'm trying.
Right.
I catch myself, so I want to preface it by saying I know everybody who's listening.
Yeah.
I know this is me being not creative or conversation.
Yeah.
But when you get here, every time you go to a different organization, people do different things, and you learn different things. And so, what is the thing here that they do different or you've learned?
I wouldn't say overall it's a ton different because for me it's like just being a starting pitcher, having my 5-day circuit. I've become kind of just in tune with my own routine. So a lot of it is, based off of just trial and error. This routine that I've built up. So it's like every 5 days I have this cycle of stuff that I do that kind of just seems to blend into the schedule here. It's like maybe one day we'll have PFPs, but that's in every organization. I wouldn't say that, there's a ton different besides.
I mean, obviously, people point to Tampa, right?
Right.
They say, it's a Tampa way of doing things. Where the reality is, Tampa way of doing things, they throw strike one early in the count. But then you go to other places. Or last year, for instance, they really came out of the gate, spin the ball, spin the ball, spin the ball. So I don't know if the philosophy is different here, or if the technology is different here, or anything like that.
I wouldn't say a different philosophy, and it's like. Not even in an arrogant way, because I'm in no way a complete pitcher, but it's like I kind of have an I mean, I know exactly what worked for me last year. It was getting ahead of guys, pounding the strike zone. Looking back, it's like, you know, I've had the question, what did I feel the best about what outing? But looking back to my start versus Colorado last year, I had no 3-ball counts. And it's like I gave up 2. You know, I would like to pick an outing where I gave up 0. But it's like that is, you know, how I'm trying to go into every start. It's like dominate the strike zone, throw probably 95% fastballs, whether it be sinker, four-seam, or cutter. And just let my stuff play and just leave it all out there on the table. As far as like philosophy stuff, like that's kind of just how I feel about it. I've had these tons of conversations with Bailey, and it's like looking at the splits of 1-0 and 0-1 in my career. I spoke about that about 2 weeks ago, and me and him have kind of come to that same conclusion that's what we're pouring all of our effort into right now.
Guy behind Ortiz said he talked to you, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we said, I was talking to him about, like, he sucked in spring training. Right? He did. Like, he's like, he had the great line of like saying, "Hey, listen, the last time I checked, they don't put stats in the back of spring training stats in the back of baseball cards."
Yeah.
And he said, you know, like, hey, don't, you know, worry, just ease into it. Which is good. Right. But also, you said the other day, like, I want to compete. Like, I want to compete. So it is sort of you're easing into it, but you want to compete.
Right. I actually talked about this with Bailey earlier today.
Good.
It's mindset practice is really all it is for me. It's like I'm getting the reps and I'm throwing. I'm evaluating my outings as best as I can while also being realistic about where I'm at and that being my second game. And it was like just where I'm at around the strike zone. And it was like looking at my outing last time, I had 3 walks and I walked away not feeling so bad. And then I look at my report following, and I had all but 3 misses were in the shadow zone right around the plate within a half a ball of the strike zone. So it's like I can't really walk away from that feeling down on myself. If anything, I feel like I'm continuing to take steps forward, and that's what spring is for. It's about, you know, if my release point's here, where's my cutter end up, and it's just really honing in on those so that then when the season comes, your misses are smaller. And just feeling confident with my stuff.
Isn't that awesome, though? like 10 years ago, people could do that.
Yeah, 100%.
Be like, oh man, you either felt good or felt bad.
Yeah, a year ago I didn't do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just developing new perspectives and, you know, it's facing lineups multiple times, throwing a bigger sample size of pitches every time that I go out there. I feel like I could truly evaluate myself. When I was a reliever, sometimes I would I would be working that bat well and make 3 mistakes and get 3 hard ground outs and go 3 up, 3 down. So it's hard to really evaluate yourself when you have a day like that.
That's amazing. That's a great perspective.
Yeah.
You're taking it next level.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. So power rank along those lines. You've been asked a lot of questions. Power rank the most question that you've ever been asked the most.
Number 1 being the question that I like the most, or
no, questions that you've been asked about. Are you going to say which? All right, question you've been asked the most, question you like the most.
Yeah.
I know the number 1.
My first, the ones that I like the most is what do Buehler and Bregman bring to the team? Those, because those are exciting. Those I've talked a lot about those being guys that I looked up to and guys that I was hoping to be teammates with. I met Buehler a couple of years ago working out at a place in Arizona. Very briefly, we just kind of ran into each other, and, you know, I was a little nervous to even talk to him because, you know, I was some 23-year-old reliever, hadn't at all made a name for myself. I still feel like, you know, I have a lot to prove in that category, but regardless, it's cool to share the clubhouse with him and Bregman as well. It was when we made the move, it was like, man, I can't believe that this is actually happening.
And then you met him.
Yeah.
Asked for his autograph.
No, not yet.
Yeah. Not yet. And then we know the question that you've been asked the most.
Yeah,
the extension question.
Yep.
Which I vowed that I will not ask because, like, again, like, what are you going to say?
Right.
What are you going to say?
It's tough. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask, sort of like we go back to last year about because it was, you know, you obviously established yourself pretty early on as a guy that they wouldn't want to have. So did you talk? What was that like? Because that was different than this, I think. Like that was there talk about extensions before
with Chicago?
Yeah.
Not really. It was kind of front offices and agents, they have these different like models that they look at to perceive value. So it was like just kind of discussion of the trajectory of my career. Where am I going right now based on what, these analytics say? And it was like, we think that you're going to be really good kind of thing, because I was progressing in my career. And then it was like, and we're also probably going to try and trade you.
That's a weird conversation.
Yeah, and it was like, the thought came up where it was like, would I want to spend the rest of my year in Chicago, or the rest of my career in Chicago, or, the flip side of the coin, go somewhere where I could win right away. And that's why Boston was such an attractive option. It wasn't really an option. I had no say in the fact, but when it actually went down, I was really fired up, because, a place where, you want to spend your entire career and you could win right away, it's kind of just the best of everything.
I have to ask, so when's the first time they said that we're probably going to try to trade you?
I'd say it was kind of hinted in the media with what was going on. And then around the deadline, it was like probably the week leading up to the deadline was like just conversations of what are the chances, just kind of trying to prepare.
You wanted to know.
Yeah. It's like, especially with just like all the talk, it's like, walking into a visiting clubhouse, for a Sunday day game, and they've got the TVs going, and I hear my name on TV, and it's like, what the fuck is going to happen? We had an apartment, we had bought all of our furniture that was in Chicago, so it was like, what are we going to do with all of our stuff?
Yeah.
Like it's the stuff that happens away from the field that's like, because myself, I'm just going to hop on a flight and go to another clubhouse and start playing, put on another uniform and start playing. That's easy. But it's like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to live? I've got a wife and a dog, and I've got a couch and 2 mattresses. It's like, where does that stuff go?
I mean, not to put words in your mouth, but reading between the lines of like when that came out about, you want an extension.
Yeah.
It sounds like, hey, listen, if I'm going to be traded, I just want to be there for a while, right?
It was, and I'm actually glad that you asked, because it's like, I know when it came out, a lot of people were looking at it as greedy. Like, I didn't by no means feel like I was like demanding it because I wanted money or security like by itself. It was more so in the fact that I was establishing myself as a starter and kind of getting away from the idea that teams viewed me as, a potential high-end reliever. I was having a good career as a starter or a good year, and I was staying healthy for the first time in my career. Like, in 2020, flexor strain. In 21, I had like a back thing, and then I blow out, and then coming back from TJ, complications there, and then it was like, now I'm starting on a set routine, and I'm feeling good every 5th day, and I'm able to go out there and perform. Why should I jeopardize that for a team that I don't really owe anything to? That was the weird part, was like, a lot of people like, sending me hate stuff on like Instagram and stuff like that, and it's like, I don't owe a team that I'm not on anything. So for me, it was like, that was the way to protect myself.
So people were like, because they're like, hey, we want to like, you're blocking the future of the white, like, how dare you do this?
Exactly, and it's like, yeah, I worked to put myself in that position. It was like, I mean, I guess that's really all I have to add to it.
No.
Like, I'm sure that you see where I'm coming from, though. It's
I
like,
do.
It's like, I'm finally healthy, and it's like, well, what about a team that's making a playoff push that has no intentions of ever extending me, or, let's just say a team that, like a hypothetical team, it's like they have a good, strong farm system, enough to get the job done. The White Sox were obviously hunting position players, so this team gets to keep all their power arms waiting in the wings. If I go down on this playoff push, well, now I'm just by the wayside. I haven't had a full season as a starter. That would be my 5th injury since debuting. It's like, what happens to my career now?
So what you're protecting yourself against is the team that trades you if they trade you without an extension, they
Right.
can basically. And I'm not saying that team would do this, but you never know. But
Right.
But we've seen it where teams to make playoff pushes, they're like, we're just pushing the
Right.
pedal out. There is no, and so. But if you've locked up, then you have the security, and also you have the
Right.
commitment from the team. I get that.
Right. I look back to, and it's not at all the same thing, but I look back to Carlos Rodon in 2020. I don't know when his TJ stuff was and when his shoulder stuff was, but I know that there were surgeries up to that point. Spent a little time rehabbing in the alternate site, and then in the playoffs, I don't know if he was throwing hard. He wasn't really himself. And then that offseason gets DFA'd, and it's like, I watched Carlos Rodon pitch in the World Series. I saw him debut, and I knew what kind of talent he was. Mm-hmm. And then it's like to see somebody just discard him. That was like kind of my first time seeing the business of it. Mm-hmm. It's like, how can this happen to someone of this caliber with this level of talent? Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, it was like, could that happen to me? Would anybody even notice? It was like, because all of a sudden I pop up on the map, not having a good year starting. It's like I could just as easily fall off. Right now I'm trying to, like I said, I'm ultimately trying to have a good career.
Was that hard? Like, was the whole thing hard? I mean, like you said, when you get messages, that's a life you live to a certain extent. But it must have been hard to sort of.
It was hard to. At the same time, it wasn't really, because it was what I believed in. I was fully convicted in the process of it, and because it just made sense. It was hard to. I don't know, like. I guess it wasn't really hard. Like it was weird to cope with and weird to deal with, but it was like, because I have media asking me questions about it, but it's like that was my actions. It's like I'll always have to answer for my actions, so I wouldn't say it was really difficult.
But it's just like anything. If I say to my kids, you do what you know is what you think is right, and then you explain yourself, and if people listen, they don't listen.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is.
The hardest part was like I scuffled a couple times, like right after the trade deadline. Yeah. It was like, did I mess up? And then it was like, no, I didn't. I know that I made the right call, and me and my wife were comfortable with with whatever the outcome were to be. So.
Well, I know you made the right call because now you have 2 baseballs and boring T-shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
You have any questions for me? Because I'm here to guide. I'm here to help you. It can't be just a one-way street.
Any questions? No, but I'll come next time prepared.
Yeah. Just let me know. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah,
but I
sure.
appreciate the time. It's really good talking.
Yeah, of course. Great talking to you too.